Infidelity. It's a word that just hits you, right? A betrayal that can completely shatter a person's world. But what if the reasons people cheat are way more complicated than we've always thought? Today, we're going to dig into the unsettling psychology of why even happy people stray. And trust me, the answers might just change how you think about love, relationships, and everything in between.
You know, for the longest time, the story we've told ourselves has been pretty simple. Cheating is a symptom of a bad relationship. It means something's broken, someone's unhappy, the love is gone. Simple as that.
And it's not just us. As the renowned psychotherapist Esther Perel says here, even she believed this for a long time. It's this very neat black and white picture. Happy people stay loyal and unhappy people cheat. Makes sense, right?
Well, her work, and honestly, the real-life stories of millions of people, point to something way more complex, a reality that's a lot messier and, frankly, a lot more uncomfortable.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Let's dive right in. We're going to explore this really wild idea that not all affairs are a red flag for the relationship. Sometimes the problem has nothing to do with the partner and everything to do with the person who's cheating. When people who swear they love their partners end up straying, it often shines a light on a much deeper, more personal crisis. It's not always about running from the person they're with. Sometimes it's about running from the person they've become.
Esther Perel just nails it with this quote. She argues that so often, the affair isn't really about the new person. It's about trying to reconnect with a part of yourself that you feel like you've lost along the way. The affair is the vehicle, not the destination.
So here's the key takeaway. The affair becomes this kind of mirror. In it, they see a different version of themselves. Maybe it's the fun, adventurous, spontaneous person they were before life got so serious and full of responsibilities. They're not really looking for another person, they're looking for another self.
Okay, so if it's this big search for a lost self, how in the world do people justify causing so much pain? Well, part of the answer might not be in psychology, but in biology. We're talking about brain chemistry. Because the act of cheating, it can become powerfully addictive.
And it happens more than you might think. Research shows that nearly 1 in 4 married people will cheat at least once. Neuroscience tells us that the secrecy, the risk, the novelty of it all, it triggers this huge chemical cascade in the brain.
Yeah, an affair unleashes this potent cocktail of brain chemicals. You get a massive surge of dopamine for pleasure. That's the same chemical linked to things like cocaine. You get norepinephrine, which sharpens your focus and can lead to obsession. There's oxytocin, which helps you bond with this new person. And get this, even the stress hormone, cortisol, adds to the intoxicating thrill of the risk. This chemical rush is so intense, the brain just starts to crave it, creating a feedback loop that feels a whole lot like addiction.
But here's the thing. Most people who cheat still see themselves as good, moral people. So how do they square that circle? How do they hold two completely opposite ideas in their head at the same time? Well, that's where something called cognitive dissonance comes in. The brain absolutely hates that internal conflict, so it starts doing some serious mental gymnastics to feel okay again. And this is how that rationalization works. The brain literally rewrites the story. It goes from, I am a good person, but I am lying, to something like, well, my needs aren't being met, or I just deserve to be happy. And even, you know what, I'm the real victim here. And just like that, the guilt gets dialed down, and the affair starts to feel totally justified. It's an incredibly powerful psychological defense mechanism.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating, because these motivations and all these justifications we've been talking about can look dramatically different for men and women. The research shows some really clear patterns.
So get this. According to the data, men who cheat are often just as happy in their main relationship as men who don't. They tend to be really good at compartmentalizing, at seeing the affair as a purely sexual thing that's separate from their life. For women, though, it's a much different picture. An affair is a huge indicator of deep emotional dissatisfaction. For them, it's often a stepping stone out of the relationship.
And these different motivations totally explain those classic, almost cliché excuses you hear when an affair is discovered. For a lot of men, the justification is it didn't mean anything, because they separated sex from love. For a lot of women, the justification is he wasn't treating me right, because for them, the emotional neglect made the affair feel like a necessary escape. Okay, let's pull the lens back for a minute, because this isn't just about what's going on in one person's head, it's also about the huge and maybe impossible pressure we put on our relationships today.
I mean, just look at this list. Esther Perel says we're basically asking one person to give us what an entire village used to provide. We want them to be our best friend and our passionate lover.
Our rock and our source of adventure. Our co-parent and our intellectual equal. It's a lot to ask of one person. And that's the thing. Our whole romantic ideal has turned our partner into our everything. A marriage isn't just an economic partnership anymore. It's this grand project of love and self-fulfillment. We expect one person to be our lover, therapist, and business partner all rolled into one. Is it any wonder so many relationships are crumbling under that kind of pressure?
And that really leads us to the heart of the dilemma. If cheating is sometimes a twisted search for a lost self, and if our relationships are buckling under the weight of these impossible expectations, it forces us to ask a really tough question. How do we even navigate love, desire, and loyalty in a world where the old rules just don't seem to apply anymore? There's no simple answer, but it's a conversation we can't afford to ignore.